Right up to the microphone we go as we continue to set sail on a beautiful summer day here, a little cooler than last time here in Berlin, Germany. My name's Adrian Pocobelli. Artist Journal, July 4th, Independence Day for all our American friends around the world. And it continues. And look at this piece. I was just thinking to myself, one of the great things of this scene is it's not built around one person. There are many masters, like many. Like when you start to just tabulate them in your head, I mean, you could probably pretty easily put together 10. There may be more. So, of course, many of you will recognize the artist who produced this arresting work, Martin Bruce. I believe it was a commission for Absurdity, who has been commissioning different artists to do the 4 seasons. So here is fall. I could have started with spring, which is also spectacular, but fall was arresting, as I like to say here. And there are the colors. And there are, let's see if I can actually increase. Here are all of what we might call the tropes. Up close and personal here. The sampled brush that is repeated to kind of make these snakes. This television snow background. What else do we have here? I guess we have the somewhat irrational composition. Is it abstract? It seems like it. But it could be trees. Kind of this hybrid. As I try and put words, I always say it with Martin Bruce, he thinks with his eyes. I believe out of Portugal. But maybe originally out of Chile, but based in Portugal, I think. And here we just see, you couldn't put, could you prompt this? Is kind of another way of thinking about this. Could you prompt this? Could you put your little word, salad together or whatever, your concoction of words together to result in this? Probably not, unless you put in the words Martin Bruce, previous work. Otherwise, I don't think you could do this as a word prompt. We also see the gradient here, which we could also call the way it's done here kind of a Martin Bruce style. We also see what looks like perhaps, just perhaps, is photography. Just perhaps, in the background here. You see over here? Let me zoom in, just so you can see, what we're looking at, say, in the bottom corner here. That kind of looks like was this began as a photograph and really has been basically sampled out, various things done to it. And then, let's just put a square on top, not because it makes sense rationally, but just to do it and then see if we can work our way around it. And, it kind of stands out too much. So maybe we'll put some of these sampled brush, lines, these worms, as they're sometimes called, on top to integrate it more into the image. Who knows? But what we have here is novel art for 2025. I submit. I declare. This is, I don't know where else you're going to find this. And what is also interesting about that, finally, before we look at the 3 other seasons, is the excitement. Because one thing's to make new art. In a sense, we'll see it in the physical art section at the end, a bunch of more new art. Exciting, but I'm not sure it has the arresting quality that we're seeing here of this is new, this is 2025 art. To a certain degree, if you were to rephrase it, you could say a little bit more audaciously, welcome to the cutting edge, is another way of framing this. Feel free to agree or disagree in the comments as we begin here on a wonderful Friday. So what happened here? Accepted offer. So probably a commission that, and this was probably the machinations of how it was sold. So just put in an offer for 300 and I'll accept it before I list it. So it's kind of nice because we basically see what the commission went for. 300 Tezos each. Absurdity must be pretty thrilled. And here's Spring. I mean, more spectacular artwork here. More novel artwork. More artwork that you have never seen before. In the sense of nothing like you've ever seen before. What is this like? You know, feel free, if you can think of what this is like, feel free to leave a message in the comments or a comment. I am curious. What is the closest that this is close to? A great artist, I say here, and I don't dare to say that, I just say it. A great artist, Martin Bruce, one of the most exciting artists on the planet, I declare, selling works for, let's see, for $165 for this cutting-edge digital painting. This cutting-edge work. You know, again, I kind of put on my little fantasy cap and go, MoMA's on the phone. They're like, hey, we hear there's something going on over here. And then I'm in the difficult situation of like, oh, it's MoMA. What do I present? Well, thank you. Thank you very much. No problem. I just sip my latte and say, what's your email? I'll send you a few links with a little smile on my face comfortably, and then I'll go for a walk. And enjoy my day and say, good job today with my little email and continue my day. Anyways, you know what else is fascinating? For those of us that are a little bit more in the thick of it, of course, this is a GIF. We see the TV snow here. The gorgeous colors, I might add. The gorgeous colors here, the novelty, and the squares. This almost looks like a wave up here. But for those of us that are in the thick of it, 900 by 700, an interesting size. Let me put it at this is full 100%, I might add. Now, again, if you're a digital artist, say pre-NFTs, you're thinking to yourself, if you're making a 900 by 700 work, well, unless I plan to, put my work on Tumblr and let it, and not make any money off of it, this might seem a little small, right? So you're always thinking pre-NFT, digital object, whatever you want to call them, pre-crypto, pre-NFT, really. And I use the word with reservation because of all the associations, but art on the blockchain. A little bit kind of a more stylish ring to it in my own, it echoes through my mind here. You're thinking, I got to make this bigger. So it's kind of cool because all of a sudden post art on the blockchain, all of a sudden you can go, hey, no problem. Actually, I'll make it 256 pixels and, put that in your pipe and smoke it. No problem because it works on a screen. That is an important point because it's kind of back to this softwares dictate the outcome. Once you have a mentality that you don't need to make it physical, all of a sudden the outcomes I would argue the outcomes will start to change because all of a sudden you can release a 200 pixel work, right? And it'll be still smaller on the screen, but then of course you can multiply it times 5. I don't know what would happen to this work, but you don't need to multiply it. It's large enough, right? This is 100%. So here's summer. Stunning. Sorry, that was spring. Here's summer. And you know what? Don't forget, I believe this was probably a commission because Absurdity has commissioned the Four Seasons for many artists. That's, commissions are a challenge because all of a sudden you're given a topic from someone else. And Martin Bruce is going, hey, no problem. Sipping his latte, and making his little works and being, with the content being, asked for from someone else. So, and then hitting a home run, so interesting. And what I also like about this work here is it's not like Martin Bruce stuck to the same process and routine. I was discussing this on another show. Like, it's good to make a lot of work. And because these were probably all made at around the same time, when you're making, you don't want to remake the masterpiece. You actually are going, okay, well, I've already done, let's say, a couple that are with this sort of style here. I need to do something different. And then so you're just trying to, and all of a sudden, people say it's like going into flow. But I almost think that over mystifies flow. Because really what you're doing is all of a sudden, because you're working and you're putting your doubting Thomas conscious mind aside, the analytics are all of a sudden being pushed aside because you're too busy working and just trying to get the job done. And so I'm kind of back to this quantity mindset. Just make a lot of work and you'll surprise yourself, because all of a sudden the doubting Thomas will disappear and evaporate because you're just trying to make, be superficial about it. I got to make 10 works. I got to make four seasons. Okay. And I need to do it within this weekend because I have another show coming up, let's say. So all to say, wonderful work here. 900 by 700 as well. And also going for 350. Oh, actually, sorry, 300 Tezos here. The offer's coming in. Now, what happened here? So Absurdity at 300. So I don't know what happened here. Transferred to Absurdity in the end. So accept offer from David Samuels. Then David Samuels. So maybe that's, I don't know. Maybe David Samuels is another account by Absurdity. I don't know what happened over there. And here's Winter. Edition of 1. And of course, the colors being the biggest clue, as well as, what looks like the trees. And again, do you see what looks like photography, right? You see some photography here in the back. Someone asked me to change the color of my cursor. And I would like to, but I think, I hope you can see that. I don't know how to do that. If someone has a link, feel free to send me a link, because I could spend easily 20 minutes just trying to figure that out. Look at this on top here. Almost like a design that goes over like a door or something here. So again, just, I don't want to say completely irrational. These images have their own logic, but they are not the logic of words. They're the logic of images. It's a visual logic that is at play here. This is not the logic of language, of word language. This is a visual language, which is interesting. We're kind of back to this research. I'm always back to Ballard here, and I'm glad nobody's complained about that, and I'm glad to hear it because I don't think I would stop. But, the artist as scientist, the novelist as scientist, something I've mentioned here for hundreds of shows, actually, maybe not for a while, though. There is a kind of qualitative science that is going on here, what we might loosely call pataphysics. At least the way that I would define it. And I think we have something along those lines here. It's a kind of research that is going on here, visual research. And the reason I'm just kind of pausing on this for a second, because where else in your intellectual life are you going to get this kind of research? And so in that regard, it becomes something of value. Again, it's like novel visual experiences are arguably, if not obviously, making you more visually sophisticated. Your aesthetic understanding is progressing and arguably is at least, and for perhaps, let's say you don't love the work, but at least if you're starting to understand why someone might like that work, your intellectual visual range, your visual intellectual range is expanding. So then when you come to another Martin Bruce later, you might go, oh, maybe I do like that. Or if I even go to something with a sampled brush or something that uses photography or the TV snow screen or some variation on that, then I also have this kind of wider reference point. It's like reading more books, right? You simply have, more neurons connected. You have more reference points. So in that regard, again, MoMA on the phone, it's like there's something of value here. I can say with confidence, right? Now here's so I made all this thing like, okay, digital. You know, you don't need a physical. But what's kind of magical about Martin Bruce is, and one of the things I love about Martin Bruce is travels through the mediums here and will, you know, without the doubting Thomas coming up and saying, oh, but, you know, are you just copying a brush stroke and are you painting the little parts of this brush stroke here? Like, are you just kind of artificially, you know, painting the brush stroke here? Is that allowed? Doubting Thomas says, right? And then you go, well, actually, you know, if we think of Jeff Koons and the Gazing Ball series and the Mona Lisa and painting the cracks, you know, in their simulation of the Mona Lisa, because I say they because it was really the team. Well, isn't that, you know, doubting Thomas? Can't you say that that's not allowed as well? So maybe instead of this being, you know, kind of artificial, maybe it's super sophisticated is another way of looking at it. So super interesting. And look at this. I mean, and what also needs to be kept in mind here, again, and I'm thinking of like Jeff Koons making works in Photoshop and giving them to the team. What's also should be kept in mind here is, in terms of this visual research, is just the act of taking something that has been made that is inherently digital and trying to render it as physical paint is going to create certain challenges that you're simply not going to find anywhere else, because your reference is being informed by something that is, you know, quote unquote, natively digital. In other words, you're not going to find it anywhere else in your visual field. Therefore, you're going to start coming up with different solutions, right? So, all to say, we're 17 minutes on Martin Bruce here, and I think there might even be more. Look at this one. I don't know if this has been minted yet, and really the prolificness is kind of off the charts. No water here, and it looks like maybe a palm tree. This is the beautiful thing, you know, and it might be worth mentioning, like, it doesn't look like AI is, you know, appeared in this image, so to speak, has made a cameo in this image. One imagines, but who knows? And so, look at this. So, a free spirit here, and again, just making a ton of work. I mean, this looks like almost a Greek vase that has been almost sampled and then just stuck in there. What is going on here? So it has so many different little processes and techniques, and then puts them all together, good sense of color, and voila, you're getting something that, frankly, you have never seen before. And I might add, that is, I'm kind of back to this visually arresting, not just cool, but arresting, head-turning. What is this? Right? Incredible. One of the greats in the world, as far as I'm concerned. Selling for $165 US dollars, 300 Tezos. Get it while you can. The prime matter of consciousness. I have to say, I love this community. And I think the community knows that, but the people who watch this show, that I can title a work like this, and people will watch it, like the show, and support it. So that is wonderful. The prime matter of consciousness. Prime matter, as I was mentioning before, Aristotle, the substratum of which all matter is made. What does all matter share? I mean, it was in Aristotle's Metaphysics, where he discussed this, and there's even the notion. I haven't read the whole thing, but I've actually spent a fair amount of time with it, surprisingly, as a student. And there's even the notion, this kind of questioning of, is the substratum of matter, is it incorporeal? Is it, in fact, not made of matter? A fun question. So, lots to learn from those ancient Greeks. Let's look at the comments here. Moda MT. Thank you for your words and curatorship, Adrian. Great to hear from you. Stunning work that you put together there, that digital painting. I'm glad we were able to cross paths on your visit to Buenos Aires. Indeed, me as well, Moda. And it was great to see you there. And it was a surprise to me, and it was great. So there's an interview somewhere out there with it's on is it Nitro in Buenos Aires. Just look at Dems or Bull's feed on X and you will track it down. Scamra, thanks again for showing 3 of my works on the show. We got a couple more, I believe. I just got to listen to the whole show just now, and wow, I'm blushing. And I love No Hygiene. It was great to see their work featured on the show. Meet up at the Whitney. Hilarious. Great to hear from you. You know, it's not crazy. I don't think it's crazy anymore. This is, again, who is making like these kind of altarpieces like this, you know, made of meat and AI, like, you know, I don't think it's crazy. And it may happen sooner than we realize. It's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out, even if nothing happens. It's going to be interesting because I think, you know, time is a necessary ingredient, one might argue, for art's kind of recognition. One could argue that it's not even possible for it to happen instantly. It's always going to be in this pocket. And it's not an easy, you know, in a sense, like you're battling, you know, to a certain degree for the, you know, declaration that this is the art that matters. You know, as I like to call it here, the war for digital art, but you could just call it the war for art, for contemporary art, for art of the now, or ultra contemporary as they like to call it. Anyways, let's look at comments here. Fluffhead Chaser, thanks for turning me on to No Hygiene. And what's hilarious is I just assume everybody knows who No Hygiene is, who watches the show. So I'm glad to hear. I guess it makes a difference starting the show. Anyways, thank you, Fluffhead Chaser. Glad you're enjoying the work of No Hygiene. Retromania, appreciate you talking about Jim Shooter. And I appreciate you mentioning that. Rest in peace. Also, I cringe whenever Raoul Pal talks about art. Yeah, as I said, I didn't want to cast shade on Raoul Pal. Again, ultimately, I'm just trying to get to a kind of reality. Because I think when we get to the reality of the situation, it speaks for itself, right? And so, yeah. So all to say, but yeah, we got a few comments. As I said here, I never saw Jim Shooter in action, of course, but I always had the sense that he was treated unfairly by the nerdier side of the comics industry. And you know what it was? Because you never hear of actual examples of how his personality was difficult, but it's almost like, but he had that reputation. And then, so if someone just wanted to, you know, assassinate his character or dismiss his credibility if they're in an argument, they'd be like, well, he's a difficult personality, right? So it almost became like this horde kind of group, like, you know, almost tribal psychology of, oh, we figured out how to undermine this guy. Is kind of how I am kind of reading it, but I've never met the guy. Maybe he was like too difficult to work with. Who knows? Anyways, to me, and yeah, so bless Raoul Pal, as I said here, Raoul Pal. And actually, we have some, so yes, indeed, great to hear from you. No Hygiene. I've read Henri Bergson's Laughter book, so this is, so, you know, I don't know who No Hygiene is, but you know, there is some intellectual, this isn't necessarily, and nothing wrong with being a 21-year-old who's just like putting things together. I don't know. Maybe they are. Maybe I was probably reading Henri Bergson a little bit. I didn't really read too much Bergson, but I like Henri Bergson when I did see kind of an original French thinker on perception and all that sort of stuff. But I never really got strong into it. Let's read what No Hygiene has to say. I've read Henri Bergson's Laughter book, and I think your smile also holds an important place. It means a lot to me that you're happy when I talk about my artworks. Or when you talk about my artworks. Yes, the first image was completely generated by AI. I've discovered a new method for myself and can achieve the results I want in different ways. The examples like the first image are not in raw form. Usually the ones I create as a single composition are raw, but I also make corrections to them with Photoshop. Thanks for your support. I have improved and will continue to try different things. So it does sound like it's basically raw AI with collage. And that seems to be, but there are other methods at work here, as No Hygiene says. And feel free to keep those to yourself. I recommend it, honestly. I recommend it. But thank you for sharing and explaining here what you're up to. Kasser, thank you so much for always sharing my work. I really appreciate it. Yeah, just mint those things. I think there's a lot of demand for your work, Kasser. and don't feel like you need to make some huge movie. I like these little fragments. I think those fragments are, it's almost preferable. Just do a little fragment here, a little fragment there. I think you might be surprised at the reaction. So great to hear from you. A wonderful new discovery here in the last few months. Ed Woods, GM Adrian, thanks for the shout out. Much appreciated. A couple more works by you, Ed. Great to hear from you. Zafgod, thank you for the comment. Glad you're enjoying the show. Jan Lucas Magone, what a start. Yes, I believe you're talking about no hygiene there. Wonderful. Filippo Francocci, great show. Thank you, Filippo. Appreciate the support. Wonderful artist. And Soum de la Creme, kind of artist we haven't heard from for a while. I believe out of Turkey, a great digital painter. It's been around on Tezos, but I think took a little break, so hopefully they are back. We're also seeing La Delmas is back. We have another work by La Delmas. Aura, GM, great selection. Great to hear from you. Thank you for the comment. And Mr. K, always good to hear from you as well. And Oblivion Fields, wow, that no hygiene piece is something else. Thank you for including my work in your show alongside these truly amazing artists. Yes, the source image is Remus, Romulus, and the wolf. And indeed, thank you for the correction here. I was going to start with a correction, but I knew you had it in a comment here. Maybe Titus Livius Livy. It is Livy, is the name you are looking for, who wrote about the founding of Rome. Yeah, you can get audiobooks on it too. It is in book 1 of Livy, and I think it was something like, there's something like 130 books, but they only have like 20 or something that have been saved, if that. Isn't that incredible? Just finally on history, I was reading the introduction to Livy actually not that long ago too, because I was rereading book 1 of the history of Rome. It sometimes has different titles. And one of the interesting kind of things that they say is that history back then, during Augustus's time and whatever, it was kind of seen as a high status form of literature. In a sense, this just wasn't like poetry or plays or whatever. It's like history kind of had this kind of a higher level of appreciation, which I just thought was a remarkably interesting idea. So all to say, or at least had a special place, let's put it, because I'm sure they thought Virgil was pretty darn special as well. Thank you, Oblivion Fields, for the comment. Has Dribble Waffle, this all-star cast of commenters here. I knew no hygiene was going to be huge when I was substitute teaching and saw graffiti in the bathroom and that proclaimed no hygiene rules, okay? I believed that, and I'm sure it's there. Some of the students were saying they thought it was weird that the sub did it, but that's just rumors. So perhaps it was Waffles himself who did the graffiti. Hilarious. T-Rick, Poco loves the production on these every time. However, slight opinion. Any way to enlarge your cursor slightly? Send me a link. Or put it as a highlighted color. Thought of this the other day trying to follow along on your dialogue. Sometimes I can't find your focused area. Peace out. Indeed, feel free to send me a link. Although I don't really click on links, but feel free to explain in a comment where I can go, or put it in the community. I will take heed to your comment there. David Lockhart, epic no hygiene piece. Boom. Rest in peace, Jim Shooter. Respect. Awesome. Great to hear from you, David Lockhart. I'm glad you enjoyed both those very diverse, disparate personalities. No hygiene and Jim Shooter in one show. Gressy, super great selection. Thank you. I appreciate that. Amalia Versace, nothing hits quite like your genuine, joy-infused appreciation of art and artists. Thank you very much, Amalia. Wonderful pixel art abstracts from Amalia, as well as other abstracts that you can find on Tezos, on Object. August Ground, just another day at the office out here. Indeed, that Nicholas Dietrich Green might have the same luminosity as Sasha Styles. It is possible. Wild Reversals, indeed. That is a whole lecture series unto itself. Indeed, these Wild Reversals, gelatin, so many different styles. It's truly impressive. It is. I'm glad you feel the same way, Gelatin. August Ground, Enigmatic Machines. We could have titled the show that. No hygiene. I'd also like to thank Fellowship AI family for giving me the opportunity to exhibit. So that work here is going to be with Fellowship AI. I believe it's something like July 17th, if I'm not mistaken. And I think that's on Ethereum, if I'm not mistaken. Also, Dance Batar, great to hear from you. Zombie Drool, so enjoy your thoughts. Thank you. I love the love. I really appreciate it, my friends. Nostalgia Unlimited, great episode. So glad No Hygiene is getting the flowers they deserve. Great to hear from you. Nostalgia indeed. Kurt Hustle Collective, Nuv1914, Nimblecore. Thank you. Thank you. This is great. Of course, I follow No Hygiene. I'm not exactly sure what to say, but first of all, I want to thank everyone who has supported me. I've met so many people in this community, and they are all amazing. Being with you and being able to share these things means a lot to me. I hope it always continues. I love you all. Just a very nice comment there from No Hygiene. So, public service announcement, PSA. August Ground was almost scammed. And I was almost scammed, actually, 2 weeks ago. Maybe only a week and a half ago. It's going around. I call it the interview scam. And mine was quite interesting. It was super persuasive. You can imagine they're using AI. And it was an email to my website, not a message on Twitter, saying, hey, we're from the Defiant podcast. We're putting together some people for a summer series on art. Very persuasive. I'm Ronnie, talent at Defiant. And I was like, and I was really tired the first time I saw it, and then all of a sudden I got interrupted, and I couldn't reply, and thank God. Although I did have a couple of like, oh, I think, okay, this sounds interesting, the summer, it all sounded reasonable. Very persuasive. And then I woke up the next day, and I was like, oh, maybe I should check, and I noticed it's not the defiant.io, it's the defiant.org. And then I go to the Defiant website, because sometimes there are, two versions of the website or the two URLs. And I see a note on the contact page saying, if you get an email that's not from defiant.io, ignore it. It's probably a scammer, this sort of thing. And this was from the defiant.org. So very persuasive stuff. So here's what happened to August Ground, which probably helped me ward off, because August Ground emailed me and said, hey, Real Vision wants to interview me. Well, it looks like Pocobelli just single-handedly saved me from an interview scam. I call it the interview scam, and I think it's good that we call it that, so everybody's kind of like, oh, is this interview legit? And anybody who's in the space who wants to interview you should be willing to verify themselves and understand that there are a lot of scams out there and be more than happy to verify that. Just say, here's my LinkedIn profile, here's this, here's that, right? The meeting was set up for Monday, questions in place, back and forth dialogues. I was ready for the big time on the Raoul Pal Show, Real Vision. Pretty major podcast, awesome. They really want to know about emerging artists in the crypto space. All sounds pretty persuasive. I shared with Poco, and he said it smelled a little fishy. I didn't say this part, though. I didn't say because he was small potatoes. I'm just a little too small potatoes. I didn't say that, actually. Because I've interviewed August Ground twice, and frankly, if the editors at Real Vision want to interview August Ground, I would actually be very impressed. I'd be like, oh, this is interesting. So that's not the reason why. The reason I thought it seemed kind of suspicious was because this had just happened to me a week and a half ago. As soon as I said I was contacting Real Vision directly to confirm this woman's employment, this is what happened. Blocked. Okay? So that speaks for itself. And Zoom, you even think, oh, Zoom. But as we've pointed out, or as I've seen, I haven't pointed this out, but as I've seen, online, on X, there's a Zoom scam where even loading up Zoom apparently can screw things up, where I've seen that. Someone else mentioned that sometimes what'll happen is last minute, you'll get a notification like, oh, can you download this software? Zoom's not working for me, is what someone else said. I feel like this. I interview artists, and truly the best approach is me saying it's all on Twitter Spaces, no extra software required. So that's never click on a link is kind of where you have to be here. Especially, if this market is heating up, you can expect the scams to increase and get more sophisticated. So, thank God August Ground did not lose everything. And this is the key, flattering my ego. It's true. Like when I got the Defiant, as I told August in a message, I was like, oh, it's like I'm finally making it. The Defiant, And like, that's a podcast I've heard of, and they want to have me on. Isn't that great? And so that's also, be careful. Just be careful. And now it's private, so yeah, especially this one here. And I went to their feed, pretty persuasive. So all to say, PSA on, look at this, you're on Yacon. I received exactly the same inquiry about a month ago from an account now that I searched for. The chat doesn't exist anymore. Back then I wasn't interested in the interview because Real Vision for me looked pretty much like a crypto financial thing rather than an art thing. So just as you see here, Peter the Roman, and Kant, they're using really good vocabulary. Even experienced people might fall for such scams. Peter the Roman had something similar happen to me with a well-known art magazine, back and forth. So it's the interview scam, and it plays on your ego, so be careful. Same thing happened to me, buffets, as a collector's side. Thanks, the impersonating account got called out, so be careful. Also, waffles. Please protect yourself and others. Don't mint pin fakes. That's funny. So as Ile put, PSA, Hasdrubal waffle and plank cedar does not mint on base or Polygon. There's a whole copy mint fake project on OpenSea, although it does do it on Rodeo. But be careful on OpenSea, Pinsnake. Basically, just be super vigilant before you spend your money to see if this is legit. You can tell if you start looking, but you have to look close. So be careful. This is pretty rad. The 15 most iconic consoles reimagined as car interiors. I'll just show a couple here, but it shows to me, really, this is the remarkable power of AI. This is spectacular, like the old Nintendo system skinning, so to speak, a car interior. Like, I could see this, actually being exciting for people, or even you take this and then you do a slight variation, and because if you change this little area here with the controller, and then you just put something normal, who would even know? So pretty wild. I mean, here are some others. Xbox, here's Wii, the Wii. I mean, spectacular concept here. PlayStation, and Sega. So we could go on and on. Let me actually kill that tab. So cool there. This is quite interesting. Anthony, so this, I don't know how to describe it, but something about Super Mario 64 feels like ethereal, otherworldly. It's got a very odd feeling to it compared to other 3D Mario games, like you're stepping into another dimension when you play it. It must have been crazy for a kid in 1996. And it's kind of an interesting view. In a sense, there's probably theses, like PhD thesis written on this stuff. You don't need to write. Like, in a sense, I'd argue this is enough. Maybe you could do another 6 paragraphs max. And the point is made. I feel like the point has been made in like 3 lines here. And then you can just kind of look at the imagery yourself and actually see. But it's very interesting. I mean, as I like to say here, the second generation of digital art, people who grew up with video games and this kind of stuff, I grew up with like Ultima 4, and sneakers and karateka, on the Apple IIe. But, if you're 10 years later, like many people are, you probably grew up, or even, 15 years later, maybe you grew up with this, right? So Super Mario 64. And so this has colored our visual vocabulary, our visual aesthetic sense. And it does mix with nostalgia, interestingly. But you could argue landscapes do as well. A beautiful pastoral landscape just kind of resonates with us too. So it's interesting. Video game landscapes, interesting. This is hilarious. So Cap'n entered the room. So of course we did the show with Cap'n, and it was awesome. He put together this insane website. entertheroom.xyz. There is digital art software within the website, so Soichi found it. Editing an image in Pro4.exe after a slice of pizza and soda, of course listening to good music, incredible project. So this is in the site, and as you see here, Cap'n went crazy. There's undo even, there's quantization, just like in music. Rad. And as I put your amazing, Suisoichi, a lot. It's a mind-blowing website. Entertheroom.xyz. So proud, Pocobelli collection that we did, that worked out. What an amazing project. Zofio Gore, I coded the movement on Flash this time. So I don't know how Zofio Gore loaded up an old version of Flash, but somehow, some way, Zofio Gore is using Flash, and this looks like ActionScript. The kind of like I think it's is it a variation on JavaScript? ActionScript, the scripting language used in Flash. That is pretty cool. Is this Flash inside Photoshop? This may be just a current Flash version looks like Adobe Animate. I'm trying to figure out how to make HTML5 published from it work on Object, but it's very tricky. So a bit on how things are working behind the scenes. Zofio Gore could actually have a behind the scenes if she's doing all this crazy stuff. Am I the only one, or are Object.com sales really picking up again? So why? At anyone.157, also more anecdotal evidence. And also here, Roto. As we run through this show here, I just tried the new FX hash, and honestly, it's confusing. The user experience feels unnecessarily complicated. The first page I landed on was the ciphered chart page. You'll see a trading view chart with all the technical analysis tools enabled. It feels like buying a meme coin. On the right, you can swap FX hash for ciphered. So it's interesting, isn't it? Like I mentioned, I don't think it needs to be any more complicated than you issue a coin and you can only buy art with that coin. An artist issues a coin, and then with that coin, you can only buy art from that art, like with that coin. I don't think it needs to be any more complicated than that. Maybe you can stake it, and if you stake it, you get, a monthly thing. And there's an idea, right? But instead, we're getting all of this like super speculative. Do I need to swap for FX hash token first? How much cipher do I need to buy? How much is that in dollars? The chart is volatile. Should I buy now or wait? Am I going to lose money straight away? So many questions. At least if it's just a direct currency and I have the price of the work, that's going to be, 500 Pocos to buy your work, to buy a Pocobelli work, then I know what I'm getting, right? And then if I want to speculate on the coin, I can speculate on the coin because if I think that Poco is going to go somewhere, right? And that there are only works that you can only buy with Poco and that you get the subscribe. I mean, maybe I've made this up on the spot here of how this should go. On the bottom right is a small section showing the associated projects. The call to action on the button is mint with ciphered. When you click it, you don't actually mint, but you go to the project page instead. So it looks like they're still ironing out the wrinkles, so to speak. So I did bring up FX hash tower by eBoy. And I kind of take this person's point. It's kind of cool how you can zoom in like this. And then here there's the mint button, 10 eBoy, but plus 0.01 ETH. But it's not like the iPhone where you just kind of know how things work, is it? So interesting, very interesting. Looks like a cool project by eBoy. As you see here, building blocks. So this launched. And again, the pixel art pioneers, eBoy there, putting together a series. Look at this on FX hash. Look at what Element.ly has done. So as it begins here, and I don't think there's music, a minute 24-second video of these wonderful artworks by Element.ly. What does it say here? The short video consists of 24 image frames linked together in an intermediate state between drawing and video around the theme of lights. The work uses light drawing to create a sensual aesthetic of mystery, silence, independence, and simplicity. There is an ambiguous correlation between the image frames, forming an open-ended formal and narrative network. I keep saying here, when I picked up for transparency, I picked up a bunch of Element.ly. People are sleeping on Element.ly from over here, from my perspective. Really cool artist here. So look, all of it. There's nothing like it. Again, made on a phone, I believe. Nicholas Dietrich could hang in the same show, couldn't he? Look at this. We were talking about the architectural, the psychological space. This almost looks like the entrance to what it reminds me of is at the MoMA, that big Egyptian I assume they still have that gate, I think is what you'd call it. But this looks more like an interior here. A wonderful, wonderful beginning from Nicholas Dietrich. Here is, I think it's Deadly Yucca. What does it say here? Cloth. So pixel art on what looks like canvas, actually. So isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? Looks pretty good, doesn't it? And here is One Don't Knows. I think I showed that where there's like 2 million, the posts that got 2 million views. How's One Don't Knows doing for like 27,000? I think that increased the account. So One Don't Knows back with a vengeance here. And here are some prints. So pretty cool. So looking good. As we jump in to the work here. So here's Zozo. Chotro, parking lot oasis. Let us get the volume and pray. And pray, my friends. It is slow, but it is working. Look at that. And we can just let it pause here and there. I mean, to see these wonderful... it looks like some transform done on the... I'll put it on mute. Here we go. And almost like, look at this. Looks like kind of evokes a like an emergency vehicle or something. And look at these, whatever's going on with these kind of bluish gradients, and then the clouds. Just incredibly original work. I don't know, this already loaded up. I don't know why it's having issues. This was picked up by Deggy D. Forgive my internet, friends. 250 Tezos for $138. Another, masterpiece theater. I like to call it out here. Continuing on, Nov 1914, July 3rd. So putting out some new works here. Ah Heck on the Scene. Picking another, look at this. So just wonderful work here. And you go, what? How is that possible? A very bold, courageous artist here. If you think you can make this, give it a shot. This was picked up by Ah Heck for 100 Tezos. Nice work. One of one from Nov 1914. Absur Deity picking up this work for 100 Tezos. So Nov 1914 taking a break and then back, bam, with some new work. Here is another one. So very edgy digital painting from Nov 1914. And another one, this is, and just waiting for the offers to come in. And already 50 Tezos offered here. And not biting yet. So Nov 1914 out of Argentina, continuing to dazzle with these. It's kind of like Martin Bruce in the sense of making these very challenging, these visual decisions is almost what I would call them. This isn't language. This isn't a language prompt, right? This is created visually. Interestingly, Cedar Plank, Life Cycle of a Chicken Nugget, telephone GIF. So interesting. Let's see if we can make this a little bigger. And so new work. So back on rodeo, Cedar Plank, and look at this. Really comes together when you look up close. Even a nice little signature there, and you gotta love all that's going on over here as well. So I never managed to get one here, but maybe on secondary. I think a 600 were minted, so you could probably get it on secondary if you don't have one. Maybe at a 2x. 697 minted, so big supply. 646, so making some real money here, interestingly. This is a pretty cool work here too. Nosferatu Man, telephone GIF. So I guess, it makes you wonder when you hear telephone GIF, does that mean made on a phone? Does that mean made on a phone? Are we starting to get some momentum here on work made on a phone? It's kind of looking like it's made on a phone. And you know why I say that? The big brush strokes. Because the big brush strokes come from working on a little screen, and then you're just doing boom, boom, and then you just do cha-cha, and before you know it, you filled the canvas. As I like to say here, the phone produces very fresh compositions. I use it, it's my main compositional tool. And so, yeah, this looks like it's made on a phone when we see telephone GIF. And you wonder if it's all native. like in the sense of exported, perhaps even uploaded from the phone. Not sure on that, but interesting, because the implications, my friends, are pretty ginormous. That if I wrote an essay about this like going on like 8 or 9 years ago, short one. I should dig that up. And actually, yeah, we'll get the Substack. It's on the list. But basically, you can, on the subway or wherever you are, on the plane, you do your little thing, you upload, you're not even in front of a computer, and then you're making money. And then, Waffles makes $40, let's say, on those, 600 that are minted on Rodeo. I mean, think the implications, like we're back to sci-fi artists. We're back to sci-fi artists here. Sabato, theoretical burb. So I think we saw a variation on this bird. Here, use the following assemblages. So nice structure here. I think the real innovation on this work was actually the 3-part structure, putting these 3 gifts and juxtaposing them. Cool kind of structured work here. And apply energies from so kind of these instructions here. And these look like like what it is made of. You have the beak here. Apply some energy from the forbidden source, and then you get the bird. So it's a formula of sorts. Here is Uxine on object. So cool work here. We see a skeleton and kind of moving, or at least turning, seemingly. And from different directions, we see some computers, almost like a kind of, I don't know if we'd call that an altarpiece, but where you see almost like this Renaissance type format here, where you put works on the corners, and then you have the chain underneath, and demon with a computer head, old Mac head. So cool work here, edition of 11, selling for 69 Tezos. Nice, selling out now 130. On object, here's Jean Provencher. Almost looks like a b-boy dancer or something. So cool work here, just posted on X. And here is Ed Marola, Do Not Stare. So fun piece here. Love the margin here. Love the contrast between almost this pixel art texture and the fuzzy background that comes into focus here. So very original work. Edition of 31, selling out at 10 Tezos each. It's looking good out here. As far as the market is hot. RJ, No Structure, another artist that has been doing fantastic on the market. Pretty original artwork here. No Structure, interesting piece. Kind of figurative here, but almost abstract in its big, chunky kind of representations. Here's not Nuv, here's Scamra with some beautiful flowers here. Some pixelated flowers, of course, using AI. Here's another work by Scamra with these kind of psychedelic skies and these unique textures. And even at the side and on the bottom, that beautiful area there. Here's Cider, important stuff. So more news, interesting. New Call of Duty incoming here. Again, plain seemingly. We have the breaking news. And so interesting work on Manifold. 119 minted. Or actually, not on Manifold. This is on infiniteink.art, which is on, it's kind of like Manifold on Tezos. As you see here, 1 Tezos, 119 minted from Cider. And here we have toddy.eth, networked or networked.art, inside network. So available, so some distorted computers here from Toddy. I believe this is on OpenSea, on Ethereum. So some cool distorted computers there. Here's Walk. Gedita el Oloferne. I'm not sure which series this is from, but this looks to me like the head of John the Baptist or something by Artemisia, I believe. Was that her name? This looks like a remix, doesn't it? I feel like I can see the forms. So you know what I love here too? I noticed with Walk, pixel art. Not sure if that's on purpose, but I kind of love, it's like, well, maybe technically it is. The scholars can debate that. Available for 10 Tezos, and I love that series, by the way. It seems to be the art history series. La Delmas, Il Cane, the dog in Italian. So look at this, another work with this kind of circus or jester theme by La Delmas. I picked up the other one yesterday. I'm not sure if there are any left. There are some left here. This edition of 10. this fabulous work, which I showed yesterday. Awesome. Here is the myth, picked up by MF Drew for 200 Tezos. A one of one, wonderful green colored myth. Love the card there. So fabulous digital painting by the myth. Here on Object Edition of 1. I am a psychiatrist. I love it. Here is Limbo sharing some sketching. And again, I almost go, this stuff starts to almost be mintable. It is mintable, actually. It depends what you want to do. It depends where this ends up, I guess, and how far it is from the original. But again, minting sketches, I love the sketchbook compositional style. So cool work there. Work in progress. Juana Pedro. Thank you. Who sent me one of these? Who's out? Daggy D. Thank you, Daggy D. Sent me the Kurt Hustle Collective the other day, sending me a Juana Pedro work, edition of 10. Thank you. Thrilled to have this in the collection. So again, we're seeing some, Juana Pedro doing well, and nice almost complementary colors here with the yellow and violet. Very nice work. I mean, subtle work with that black in the background and that kind of tracing, or that line going through it. Beautiful work. Now 55 Tezos on. I tell you, the market is quite healthy. To put it mild, is almost an understatement. Here's Time with a kind of new kind of work here. Good looking work from Time. Kind of playing around a little bit with the structure. Love these kind of edges here too, and the pink and yellow. Here is Kiro. And this is on Object. Beautiful. Love I kind of back to the right margin. I love how the right margin is basically cut off. It just kind of adds poetry to it. And I love the concept here. Kind of like a cool minimal art piece. Video painting from Kiro. And this is available for 10 Tezos on Object. That's with MCHX as well, I might add here. MCHX collaborating. Here is Macrometry, Old Computers. This, I believe, was posted by Absor Deity. So cool textured digital art piece. Cool title, Old Computers from Macrometry. Here is Jada. So cool work here. Animated abstract, pixel art abstract. And how is this doing? 7 retweets, 42. Just getting started there. Cool work, posted on July 4th. So just last night. Canik Zapata, Pierre washing the dishes. So cool kind of domestic scene here using the cellular automata. I assume this is Midjourney. It is Midjourney output, cellular automata, and dither extracting colors. So more wild work here from Canik Zapata, who is also selling out. It's doing well. Lanquezito. All these works are like sold out. And they've been here in the last 48 hours. You post your work, it sells. Is this Erebos? Am I pronouncing that way? La vie n'est qu'un bref éclair de lumière entre deux éternités d'obscurité. Interesting. Life is but a brief flash between obscure eternal points, let's call it, against two obscure eternities. Edition of 5. So continuing this wonderful series here with the Waffles Paint tool. And it's popular. I love it too. This is an edition of 5 selling out, and that sold out for 8 Tezos. Nice work. So the prices, and this is an edition of 1. And who is this? This is the Cyclops. It also, I thought it was Polyphemus, but I think it says Cyclops, if I'm not mistaken here. And of course, Polyphemus, the giant Cyclops in the Odyssey, where Odysseus and all the men, a lot of them are eaten, I believe, by Polyphemus, if I remember that correctly. So anyways, awesome series, edition of 1. What did it go for? 45 Tezos. Excellent, excellent work. Ed Woods, Alone on Venus. So cool work here. I think this is in the Pesky series. Beautiful background there. Nice contrast. And then we even have like these horizontal lines and even what looks like a bit of a glitch on the entire thing. Very nice work from Ed Woods, edition of 16, sold out. This is exciting. Beach Time, yeah, cool work here. Also, nice just pixelation. Bright blue sky, and kind of almost commenting on the Pesky here. You have gum, is text, bucket, right? Almost looks like a Mario Brothers thing. Sand, castle, combining text and image. Cool commentary. I like what's going on here, conceptually. It adds another layer to the whole pesky approach. Pesky 2, as it's called, the series, edition of 10, and sold out at 6 Tezos. People making real money here. Come one, come all. Cataracts by Braindead. This is 0.033 ETH, 13 minted. So, I mean, what does that turn into? 0.3? We're talking about almost 0.4 ETH. I mean, that's $1,000, maybe more, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right? 0.03 times 13, 10, would get you to 0.3. Sorry, so maybe $150. There we go. Let's look at the work as we get dazzled here by the financial side of it. We love the financial side of it here too, so pretty cool, kind of a pixel art machine in the genre, pioneered by Kareem Safa. I just picked up a couple of pixel art machines for the museum in my mind by Kareem Safa. So this is, of course, Braindead, BD, as I like to call them. Of course, Gogolitis being another great user or creator in that genre, what's tempted to be called a pixel art genre, subgenre. Step-by-step pixel art, a village tutorial using only MS Paint by Anis Abdon. So for people that are trying to make, look at this. So Anis Abdon's showing how the sausage is made using a newer version of Microsoft Paint. I'm not sure if I thought they stopped making Microsoft Paint. We have passed the 1 hour mark. Let's keep going. Wandering Star times Space Runner. So this is Byte by Bit, picked up by Ed Woods for 35 Tezos. I'm telling you, this market is hot. And look at this, nice user interface. Artists buying artists' work, collectors coming in. It's an exciting boom times out here, if you ask me. That pinball guy, no light for Kuro Hana. So here, another cool ASCII work by Pinball Guy. Nice, love these big margins here too. Cool animation, edition of 10, and 8 left at 333. 3 Tezos 33. Here's Cap'n, High Eyes. And so here, another, I believe, Figment's work posted on X. Look at that, doing fabulously. 54 retweets. Here's Kyle Flemmer with a work in progress, winning. So look at that. Spectacular looking work here from Kyle Flemmer. Here's Elna Frederick, Chandek 85. And playing off of a meme, there's the cat looking at the two women. And so, yeah, Chandek 85. And this is on Object. I would load that up, but I'm concerned about my internet. Kawabe, this is by Renki, incorporating some new colors here, keeping it interesting. And I believe this is in the Judd series. This homage, really, to Donald Judd, as you see here, who we've all seen a million times in the museum. Remade. These should be in the same room, frankly, is what I would do. So much opportunity out here. Green pastures in this golden age that we have here, featuring, showcasing the second generation of digital art, as I like to call it. Let's continue. Close, picked up by Sabato. Good Times, 27 Tezos, a beautiful work here by Klaus. Composition 505 in the series, building credibility with each new work. Gaia by Xmortal, so cool work here. Featuring, it looks like a bit of video. And so AI, so I think AI is coming into these works as the video. So selling out at 13 Tezos, at 16 Tezos, edition of 13. Almost 17 Tezos. Now this is bringing up an interesting issue here with AI, and it's a good one, which is, here's another gorgeous work by Eiley. It's the 24th in the series, and this is pretty spectacular. Again, were internet being friendlier, I'd bring up Garden Airplane Traps. Cybernetics, this is awesome. Cybernetics 23. Another really nice textured AI art piece using plants and computers. And it brings up, I think everybody, at least, everybody should do what they want to do. But the fact that you can make so many interesting pieces and compositions tells me that just like with writing, AI should be incorporated, because then you can get variations and then you can start to look. And AI should be probably in everybody's workflow. And I say that loosely because probably maybe Martin Bruce doesn't need AI. Maybe it's already there. I doubt it, but you know what I'm saying. But it tells me when I see the prolificness of quality that is possible. You simply, it's like you can't be a Luddite with AI, and that includes the visual side of it, not just the writing side of it. No Hygiene, who of course I follow, with AI artwork one assumes here. Love the monochromatic, good choice of color there too. This kind of digital turquoise almost. And here is Bosque Grazia's Type Machine number 10, continuing these wonderful physicals. Could almost use like a signature edition number for the physical. Edition of 5. And so here, 5 Tezos, of course, out of Argentina, which I kind of thinking about visiting again. It's crossing my mind more and more. Gregorio Zanardi with a beautiful work in progress here. Exciting times here. Really like that background that's been painted over. You see how much more interesting? Like, this is actually, we don't have a lot of time. We're already at the hour and 5 mark, but this is very important. It looks like this is a painting that's been painted over. Or that Gregorio Zanardi was just doing some stuff as for background painting. But you see what happens here? All of a sudden, rather than just going straight on the white canvas, all of a sudden this becomes a lot more interesting over here. And you see over here, these lines, it's like everything just has a richer feeling because there's kind of a complicator. You might call it the element of randomness has been incorporated into the composition and into the process. You see it here. It creates a richness. So whenever this is done, it's just going to look that much richer over here. And you're not even going to know why. It's interesting. It's like the equivalent of putting a textured background for graphic designers out there, just to get some kind of, depth, so to speak. Joachim Official, is this going to be at Berlin? So this opens actually next month in Berlin. This is going to be a sensational opening. This is, I believe, in a couple of weeks here, 2 or 3 weeks, Joachim Official in Berlin. This is going to be a sensational show. This is sensational here. Harper's Books. Tonight in Chelsea, Harper is pleased to announce Brooklyn-based artist Patrick Groth, first solo exhibition. So interesting, Harper's Books announcing a solo exhibition. As I say here, I love sports. This looks like a great series. And again, you're going to see the underpainting, the orange. Now it's put on top as well. That is almost, or maybe not. Maybe it is all orange and then you just put the green around and then you don't worry even about getting too close there. Really, or you're using a projector is probably what's happening here. Great piece here. Nice thick green painting on the orange. Those are complementary colors, right? This is fabulous. The injury. Sports is, again, I say this, very underrated subject matter. Melanie Pakoken. He Pari. 35 by 30 centimeters. Wonderful piece here. So finding all sorts of gems. Joachim Official clapping. This internet artist community, it's interesting. I think it's going to win. I think on physical, whatever's happening on Instagram and on the blockchain as well, together, the excitement is, in these two places. Here is Nathan Pattison art, Ronald McDonald. So very fun work here. This is at Scapegoat Gallery. So it is in a gallery. We'll have to, tempting to check that out. Nathan Pattison art, more great works here. So continues to be interesting. Here's another one. Nathan Pattison art. So kind of a recent discovery here, combining text, image, a lot of texture. Here's Gulo Rama, back with another one. Kind of looks like Grimace from McDonald's. More fabulous work. Looks like there was some collage in there too. Me Paints Me, Richard Mortensen, Swedish cow seen from a psychomaterialist point of view. So almost looks like a Gozo work. Again, this kind of has a surrealistic, psychoanalytic kind of feeling to it. Here's Yoon Bomu, who I feel like we may have seen a work or two before, just very unusual work. And in a good way, Eve's Paint Killers, piece by Roast, Oakland, California. Again, so a lot of boom times in the arts, really. It's Not Gallery presenting Miriam Bikart, just a really original kind of airbrush painting of a chandelier. Here is Lourdes Sanchez, currently at Sears Sprayton Gallery. I assume these are like smaller galleries, 9,000 followers. It's not like 90 or 900. So these smaller galleries picking up on Instagram, they're going to win. I love this work. It's Not Gallery presenting Bethany Shanahan. online. This is a fabulous work here. Fabulous. I love that work. Index Berlin, Frank Garrett's Auctions. So this is at Gallery Michael Haas, a more established gallery. And so not exactly sure. It kind of looks like a Liechtenstein and then cut off. What is it? Paper. And is this paint stick on printed paper? So maybe the paint stick on top? Not exactly sure. Very cool work there. Very nice piece here. Sat shot. Cool painting here of a shoe. Not sure what's happening there. And here's Ernesto Ash from the Change is the Constant from the physical show, I believe, in Brazil. And here is Machine with another toilet, and there the cat on the toilet. Brilliant work, as usual, from Machine. That is your show, my friends. Hope you enjoyed it. And until next time, have a great weekend and take care.